She saw also a picture of some grapes, and this is
some grapes.
Grapes, and this is the sign of wine.
Okay. When she sees grapes on vineyards, what are the sign of? Grapes. Grapes, she says she saw some grapes on some picture, which are a sign of wine, drink, alcohol. But when she sees the grapes in her own vineyards, in the courtyard of her home or elsewhere, what do they remind you of? It all depends on who is saying it. When I see vineyards, when I see it, they never remind me of wine. They always remind me of juices. They always remind me of the verses of the Holy Quran in which grapes are mentioned with such praises and with such beautiful language. So why should you be reminded of wine at all? So we can't destroy all grapes because they remind. Moreover, one should remember that it is the purpose which is all important. Some people say even making small statues is haram and shirk. I don't agree with that. Because then what about dolls with which the girls play? They are like statues. It is the purpose which makes the difference. It is reported that Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu ta'ala anha was so young that even after marriage she used to play with dolls. So what are the dolls like? They're like human beings. This is rigidity. One should be cured of rigidity. The purpose is what decides. If even you make a small crude thing of a wood, which is not very clearly a human being, but if it is made or carved for the purpose of worship, that becomes an idol. But tamasila which were made for Hazrat Dawood, what were they? Why were they not haram? Why did the Holy Quran mention them specifically? Only to remind us that it is your intentions which make a thing haram or halal in many cases. If you build certain things for the purpose of calling partners to Allah, with Allah, then whether the shape is like human being or not, it's irrelevant. Every such thing incriminates you and makes you a mushrik. But if other purposes are solved, then there's not at all any harm. Images. But when we see in the mirror, what do we see? An image. So, image by itself is not haram. It is the way it is done. I tell you another example. It's a very important example. Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's hujra was decorated with a draping curtain which had some images on it. He did not object against it until when he started praying, it happened to be in front, and then it interfered with his concentration. So he objected against it because of that. He should remove it because it interferes with my concentration of worship. But before that he had seen it. If the small beautiful images which were made there were haram according to him, he should have torn it off immediately and said, remove this thing from my house. So one should study the hadith with minute detail and attention. Only then you can draw your instruction from Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, not otherwise. So shirk is only a matter of intentions with which you make a thing or do a thing. The same thing can be a shirk, the same thing can be innocent. See? So whenever you make a doll for worship, it becomes a butt, it becomes an idol. Whenever you make a figure without the least idea of worship, you can kick it at it because there is no respect involved. then that's not a shirk. Right? Yamus Salat. They were Imam Salat. That's why one particular boy was young, yet he was Imam Salat, because he knew the Quran better than others.
مكشوفة أزرار
Button.
ويتركون القسم
Jab in
الأعلى.
Arabic, jab. Is cut.
جايب.
Jab.
We call jab is pocket and jab.
And jab is also there.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I know. In the dictionary, this is also shown, this cut. For English, there is no such word. In English, the collar and that's all. This opening slit is not given any special name in it.
Yes.
In Arabic, jab is used.
Yes.
So some Mufassirin, speaking of Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, they said he put your hand in the jab. They said they did it here in this, like this. He did it like this. So this is, I know, this is also jab.
أشياء أخرى فليس
Also
من
like drinks, you know,
أو أي
healthy drinks made of juice, juice of the grapes. The grape juice without khamar are available, and when you drink them when they're cool, they make a heavenly drink. So why shouldn't we be reminded of that instead? Jazakumullah.
So this answers also the last part of this question, that about drawing. Drawing is not forbidden.
No. It all depends on what you draw it for. People draw things and they become history, in fact. Drawing has done a lot to enrich the human history. And it's within man. One thing she should understand, in all others as well, is that everything which is built into human nature in itself is not wrong. It is only the purpose to which we, purpose for which we use it. That purpose makes it either good or bad. It is just like the child which is born, and every child which is born on Islam. Every child which is born on truth and the nature of God. Yet, Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam informs us that for abawahu yuhawwidanihi or yunassiranihi, it is the parents of such a child who either make a Christian out of it or a Yehudi out of it, but if left alone, he would remain a Muslim in true sense. So everything which God has created has purposes. If you use it for the good part only and do not use it in the wrong sense, then there is nothing wrong with it. Coming to tasveer, musawwir, the Holy Quran speaks of Allah with a very, very great praise, al-musawwiru, and tells us to imitate him. How can we imitate al-musawwir when tasveer is haram? He is musawwir in the good sense, and follow him within the limitation of good musawwiri, the sweet which is good, which is not dedicated to some imaginary God, dedicated to God, who is musawwir. There is no harm whatsoever in it. Children draw things, everybody draws things. It's natural in man, and it is this natural trend which has preserved the history of some 25,000 years before, which tells us the way of life of these people, which is a very big treasure for human beings, and it is through writing and making pictures and things. But when you make pictures of gods, so-called gods, then of course it is haram. Right? Any purposeful tasveer is an essential part of human life. If you make it haram, then you will be shoved back into the history of ignorance. Now, what are architects? What do they do when they make pictures? How do the engineers become engineers? How can the zoologist become zoologist? You are an engineer. Didn't you draw?
Yes.
You drew. And I have been studying zoology and biology, and we had to draw pictures. And the architect also has to draw pictures of some images standing here and there. And what is photography? It is also a means of making pictures. So if you follow the medieval ulama who do not understand the purpose and the true import of the Quran and Hadith, they will take you back and bury you somewhere where there will be nothing but the darkness and ignorance. Islam is a progressive religion. It's for all times to come. So tell all Muslim students not to draw even in their course of scientific professions, or they will never be able to pass any examination. Science will be left to the non-Muslims alone. Already we are lagging behind. We should understand these things. Please. Now I come to the last but most important point. I tell you about one tasveer which was made by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah himself. Have you ever heard of it? You have heard, but you have not noticed it. Once he gave the example of life and desires. He drew the picture of a tree with his own hands. An imaginary picture. You see? Some people say the real picture is halal, imaginary is haram. But here is an imaginary picture. He drew a line of a tree and he drew arrows-like things on all sides. He said, man wishes to go that high. But as he proceeds further, he is struck with arrows of sorrow, losses, etc. Here, there. His desires go to the top, long way. His life is shortened much before that, comes to an end. So this is the picture he drew with himself to illustrate things. So any pictures which help illustration are sunnat and nabi. How can you call them haram? You understand? This was a drawing. Kana yukhriju an-nasa min az-zulumati ila an-nur. This is knowledge is nur. So he told you that for the sake of knowledge you can do it. These ulama yukhrijunahum min an-nur ila az-zulumat. When they boycott picture drawing everything all together, then they take man back to darknesses, ages of darkness.